Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we are talking Dynasty right now. The season is almost upon us, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have already done some startups. Maybe you guys are already 2 or 3 years in, or maybe even 10 years into your Dynasty, and you're itching to possibly really get your team right and ready for the season, whether you'll be here to win, or maybe you're a team that's struggling, you're trying to add some depth for you, and possibly some futures for your potential Dynasty. Now, we're going to talk quarterbacks. We're going to talk about quarterbacks I believe you should be selling and should be buying at this particular moment. We're going to talk about 3 sales, 3 buys, and one little sleeper there I just want to mention because I think he has not been talked about. So we're going to jump right in this. Now, the first quarterback I want to talk about is going to be Jordan Love. I talked about him being a buy last season, and I'm going to continue to talk about buying him. Right now, this is consensus ranking QB 24. This is where everyone's kind of thinking he's the QB 24, bottom super flex at this particular moment. There's a lot of belief that he will struggle, and I'm not sure why. I mean, I get he's had little flashes here and there, but give him an actual full season, I don't think he's going to be that bad. And I think he's really at a particular point where you might get him at a cheap price, like a first round pick if you're, a late first, maybe a player here. You can get him at a pretty good price. I've seen some crazy trades out there. Now, Love isn't Aaron Rodgers. I understand that. But Rodgers himself struggled last season, and he finished quarterback 13. And that was with a pretty bad season for him. The fact is, people believe Love at QB 24 is going to be there. I think he's more QB possibly 18, 20. I think you can fall in that. He's got most of his offense back. He's got Aaron Jones in the backfield. He's got A.J. Dillon. He still has some great emerging receivers in Dobbs and Watson. And then they added Reed, the rookie. You got Musgrave at tight end. And you still have Matt LaFleur as the head coach, who's a good offensive head coach. I think this is only going to help Jordan Love. Whether you believe him or not, I'm not telling you he's going to be Aaron Rodgers, but I do believe he's going to be somebody that's going to be a solid QB2 with flashes of QB1, a low QB1, but with flashes. So if I can get him right now at a cheap price, I'm absolutely grabbing him. Another quarterback I think is a good buy right now is Tua. Tua's QB15 as the consensus. Obviously, he's going to be a little bit harder to get. He's not going to be as cheap as I think Jordan Love. But last year, he proved me wrong. I had him as a sale last year, and maybe you got something for him last season, but I believe I saw flashes. I mean, look, there were stretches he was QB1, QB4, QB3. The concussions are obviously a worrisome, right? But I'm not expecting him to have continuous issues. I don't think health is really the biggest thing. It's protecting him, right? Getting an offensive line. And I think they've went out and tried to do that. They want to get players that would help him. I think the offense is going to obviously get the ball out of his hands fast, so he's not getting constantly hit. He's got great receivers in Tyreek Hill and Waddle. You've got a backfield that who knows who's going to run, but they're going to all be great, let's be honest, because their head coach is a offensive guru. So again, at QB 15, especially if we're not even talking redraft, that's a whole nother thing because he is getting super cheap in redraft. But as far as Dynasty goes, if I can, I'm going after Tua. I don't know if I'm going to give up 2 first round picks for him, but I'm definitely getting maybe a first, maybe a starting caliber player if I have the depth, because if I can get Tua as my QB2 on my roster, especially in Superflex, that's a steal for me. Now, another quarterback I think you should be considering buying is Kenny Pickett. Right now, he is consensus QB 21. There's just no love given to him. He showed flashes last season. I understand he didn't throw a lot of touchdowns. He had some interception issues, but towards the end of the season, he was starting to trend in the right direction. He finished QB 28. There's only 32 quarterbacks that start in this league, so that is a little bit of a struggle, but they've got a better offensive line, which is only going to help the run game, which is only going to help Pickett, right? You've got George Pickens, you've got Freiermuth, Deontay Johnson, you got the rookie Darnell Washington, you still have Najee Harris, Jalen Warren. You've got a pretty good offense around Pickett, and I think his draft capital obviously keeps him in the starting lineup for the Steelers, and I truly do believe they actually believe in him. Like, they really think he's going to be a great quarterback for them. I expect him to possibly fall in that QB 15 range at the end of the season. I don't think he's going to be the QB 28 anymore. He may be QB 20. I think it can be a little bit higher. I think this offense is actually going to increase. And again, as a super flex player, if I can get Kenny Pickett cheap, that's awesome. Now, here's the only problem that I have with it. I don't know how many teams are going to sell him at a cheap price. I don't know if I'm going first round for Kenny Pickett. Maybe if you're a team that is contending and you think and expect your team to be in the top, and so you're 112, 111 next season in the draft, maybe you can go after Pickett and not feel bad about giving that up. But if you're going to be a team that is struggling and you're not going to win this season, I'm not taking Pickett over like a Caleb Williams. So again, you got to play that factor. Now, first quarterback I'm going to sell this season is going to be Justin Fields. You guys might think I'm crazy, and I probably am. He's consensus QB8. He finished QB7 last season. But I think his value is the highest at this particular moment. His rushing ability absolutely just dominated, and he saved a lot of people last season. He was definitely my number one waiver last season when it came to redraft because nobody was drafting him. His rushing ability really just blew everyone out of the waters. He is that Lamar Jackson type of playmaker. Here's the thing with that. Reason why I think you could sell him is I think you can get a lot for him. I think at this point, adding DJ Moore only helped keep his value up. His rushing ability is still there. Year 2 of him really kind of being in this offense, he's definitely someone that is a lot of people are high on. Now, I'm not saying you're going to sell him cheap. You're going to get draft capital. You're going to get starting caliber players. So if you've got a quarterback room that has got Fields and maybe you've got another good starting quarterback and then maybe a third quarterback that can be a good super flex, if I can get Fields out of there for a starting wide receiver, a top 15, top 10 wide receiver, maybe a top running back, maybe some top first round picks, and you're trying to build this team even better, then I would get rid of Fields. Again, I'm not selling him cheap, but he is definitely somebody I'm considering selling this season because I think his value is the highest, and I think you can get a lot for him. Another quarterback I'm selling is Trey Lance, consensus quarterback 25. Now, he may be a little bit harder to sell, and I get that, but there are still Trey Lance believers out there. The fact that the 49ers gave away so many first-round picks for him, his draft capital is keeping his value up there. And you probably drafted him early in your rookie drafts before, unless this is a startup. Now, Lance, again, had shown some flashes, but not enough to value him as the starting quarterback for the 49ers, because clearly that's what's happening this offseason. They're potentially putting him as QB3 if Purdy comes back healthy. They like Sam Darnold. That's scary for Trey Lance. Now, again, you might get somebody who still has some value and believe in him. You're not going to sell him high. It's just unfortunate, but if I can get a second-round pick for him, I might consider it, depending on where that second-round pick is. If I could get maybe a decent caliber receiver or a running back or a tight end if I need it, then again, I'm looking at getting rid of Trey Lance. Another quarterback I'm getting rid of is Sam Howell. He's a sell for me. He's QB 29 right now. I'm not sure why his value has gone quite up. He's had one great game, right? He played one game, which was a great game for him against Dallas. He was QB7 that week in fantasy. He tore the Dallas defense, which was a top 10 defense. But I think what's keeping his value is his rushing upside. A lot of people are seeing what he did on the ground against Dallas. You're like, oh man, this is like the poor man's Josh Allen, right? He's got that rushing upside. He can possibly score some rushing touchdowns. I don't see it. I liked him. He was somebody I would drafted in a few of my startups or a few of my rookie drafts. But again, I drafted him late second, early third rounds in most of those rookie drafts. So for him, he's probably a steal for most of you guys who did draft him. But I could possibly sell him for a second-round pick at this point, maybe. I don't think I'm going to get a first round, but if I can get him for a second, I'm going to take some of that value, especially if I draft him in the third round in my rookie draft. I think he's somebody I'm considering selling because he is the starting quarterback for Washington, and at this point, hey, someone's going to need a quarterback. Now, my sleeper buy is going to be Mac Jones. QB consensus, QB 26. Let's just be fair to him. His offensive coordinator was a defensive coordinator last year. Give Mac some slack. Like, this guy is not as horrible as most people think he is. I think this is the perfect time to buy him right now because he stunk it up last season. But again, there was a lot of other factors in that. His rookie season, he was QB 18. And I do think he can get into that QB 18, QB 15 range. He has that possibility. He's got O'Brien as his offensive coordinator. He is an offensive coordinator. Not top tier wide receivers. Obviously, you got Juju. You got Devontae Parker just re-signed. I like his running back and Stevenson. But I just think that this offense is going to be a little bit more efficient. I think he's going to be smarter with his interceptions. I think he's going to increase his touchdown. And again, he is somebody that I can see as a nice QB2 super flex play. And I can possibly get him. If I can get him for a late first round pick and somebody's kind of just done with him and just don't believe in him, I'm going to take that every single time. So those are my buys and sales for the quarterback position. If you guys did enjoy the content, make sure you guys hit the like button. If you guys want other Dynasty content, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and you have those notification bells on. always hit us up in those Dynasty videos. We've got a lot of great content. We've done this all off season. If you guys are doing some redrafts, make sure you guys are staying tuned. We've got mock drafts. We're going to talk about sleepers. We've got all kinds of stuff. Even the 0 running back strategy people are starting to do this season. So make sure you guys check that out. Again, thank you guys so much. Hit that subscribe, like, and I'll check you guys out next time.